IVM.
Welcome to All Things Policy, a daily podcast by the Takshashila Institution. We are a bunch of policy nerds based in Bengaluru, and we like bringing fresh perspectives to Indian affairs and Indian perspectives to global affairs. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and join us for today's chat.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of All Things Policy. I am Dr. Nithiyanandam, faculty at Takshashila Institution, and we have a special guest today. Before I introduce the guest, I would like to throw some, overview of what we are going to discuss today. We are going to discuss an interesting topic that is on complexities in ranking in education institutions. Especially, we'll be discussing what is the scenario happening in India and what are the situation globally on this aspect. This is a very niche aspect, but these days it is considered as the most important aspect of education institutions because it helps the institution to evaluate along with other universities across the globe, and it believes to be an indicator of quality of education, research, overall institution performance, and so on. So this is a very interesting topic, and we have Dr. Laksh with us, who is an experienced professional in the field. To give a short introduction to Dr. Laksh, he is he is known as Dr. L.N. Venkataraman, and we call him fondly as Dr. Laksh. Is an associate professor at the School of Liberal Arts, and he is also director governance at the Accreditation and Ranking Committee at MIT World Peace University, that is known as MIT WPU. Dr. Laksh has an extensive academic career, and he has a background of education. He's a person who has, traveled across, and he studied in different institutions across the globe. And but without taking much of time, I will start the interaction with him so that we'll have a fruitful discussion for the day.
Thank you.
Welcome, Dr. Laksh, to this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Nithya. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, Dr. Laksh, we are going to discuss about complexities in ranking. Could you please throw some lights to people on what is it all about? So, yeah.
So, what I mean complexity is actually in India, we are in a situation where we have 1100 plus universities are there. In addition, there are 45,000 plus colleges are there. So there is a concept called new public management today in the governance literature, where all the universities are expected to bring high quality research credentials as well as ensuring greater access in terms of social justice. Because if you look at the Indian reality, this country is comprised of OBCs, Dalits, and the scheduled tribes, the 80% in terms of the demographic figure. But if you look at the professoriate in this country, almost according to the available figures, almost 90% of them are from the upper caste actually. So here is a situation of a skewed picture where this complexity can be seen, where the system of higher education in India is more or less controlled by the higher castes. In India, the another situation is the more you are higher in your caste structure, there is a higher chance that you will be economically well off. So whatever we are providing in terms of higher education is a kind of a elitist intervention in the name of education, which is not necessarily a knowledge transaction, which cannot be ensuring the social justice, whatever our constitution is talking about. So these complexities are what we are going to discuss, if you permit, based on diverse other situations like ranking, for example. There is a pressure on the system in terms of ranking. Global universities are going to come. and private universities or Indian private universities are coming up, and Indian public institutions are there, and Indian higher education system in particular and Indian education system in general is known for its Byzantine structure. What do you mean by that? Byzantine structure is a very complex, incomprehensible situation where there are state universities, there are central universities, there are standalone institutions, there are deemed universities, there are private universities, there are global universities, there are twinning program. It's a kind of a very messy situations what we are offering. And we know that India is the most populous country as of today. That is 1.5 billion people. So if you look at the number of people who are going for higher education is only in double digit, 25% or something. So the GER is having a problem because there is a pressure from the national governments, the central government, where it should be 50% by end of 2030, something like that. So there are a number of policy pressures are there on the system, and how the system is actually coping up with all these complex Byzantine pressure from the structure is the point I'm trying to navigate.
Nice. So, yeah. So I understand there's several complexities and different kinds of institutions we have, and all institutions are not equally funded for say, and they're coming from different background, and they have several challenges on their own. Given all this context, can you just tell why we need something called ranking first of all? So, in a situation like India, can we avoid it, or is it essential for us, or are we running behind the peer pressure of international community where ranking is considered as a important, parameter that is helpful in identifying academic reputation, employees' reputation, and many other factors associated to that. Do we really need ranking, especially to Indian higher education system, given all these complexities exist?
That's a very, very, very insightful question. Whether we need a ranking or not is a very philosophically excellent question. The point to what we need to do is very minority of the academic scholars like a Professor Prabhat Patnaik from JNU has been arguing that we should not go for ranking at all because every institution is unique and it has its own local relevance. Sometimes, for example, university like Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi may not be globally renowned, but it has its own Indian flavor, it has its own relevance for the Indian political situation, etc. So Prabhat has been arguing the unnecessary pressure on the system in the name of ranking. Nevertheless, what we are witnessing is a situation where majority of us, including the students, faculties, vice chancellors, everybody is obsessive about ranking for various reasons. Management in private universities wants ranking for attracting more students in terms of revenue generation. Management in the public institutions wants to have ranking for reputation building. So everybody has their own reasons for the liberal framework. This is a kind of a neoliberal pressure. When I say neoliberal pressure, means a capitalistic pressure in terms of market, how it is actually pressurizing the system to open up. It has its own pros and cons. We cannot get into it, but majority of the academics are more or less convinced about ranking. Although I have a theoretical agreement with Professor Prabhat as well. So it's a kind of a liberal framework I am struggling. But going specifically to the ranking is, India is a unique country where government itself is actually providing its own ranking. Most of the countries in the world are not providing. Everybody will go for QS ranking or THE Times Higher Education ranking or Shanghai ranking, etc. But here is a situation where government of India under the Ministry of Education is actually providing this NARF, National Institutional Ranking Framework, where it has actually subject-specific management, pharmacy, engineering, as well as overall university, it is actually providing. But if you look at the national as well as international, that is global ranking, there is only one indicator which is actually cutting across consistently in terms of ranking, that is research. If you look at the accreditation, for example, there are 7 criteria. But the criteria number 3, that is the research, and in NRF also, there is the pressure on research. If you look at the Times Higher Education or Shanghai, in every ranking, consistently, the system is pressurized to move more towards ranking. in terms of research. So there is a pressure on the system to tweak the universities more in terms of research rather than teaching. This is philosophically a drift from the institutional formation where different institutions are different. Say, for example, institutions like Takshashila, for example, though it is not a university, it is a very research-intensive contemporary public policy think tank, which is actually a promising one. Or research institutions like TERI, for example, it is known for its contemporary research, but they are not known for their teaching credentials. But on the other hand, traditional universities like Madras University or Delhi University, for example, it has been a teaching intensive universities where research has been at the back burner, where people will be doing only for their career promotions, etc., or casually people will be doing. So the systems over the year are based on this global as well as national ranking are pressurized towards tweaking the system more towards the application of knowledge rather than the foundational knowledge. So this has its own value because market wants, capitalism wants system to be more application oriented, more profit oriented, more outcome oriented. And it is actually appealing where students are all getting jobs, etc. So it's a very, once again, a messy picture out there. That's the reason. Yeah.
For me, it looks almost similar. I do agree with you on this aspect because for me, it is also similar to peer pressure that we all, facing for publications. For say, there's a need for research, yes, but when it comes to the measurement or the matrices to understand the impact of a research, the globally people currently relies on publication. But then traditionally we had different methods how it impacts society, how it can be measured in many other ways, are ignored completely, and we rely only on the quantum of publication or whether the publication is truly based on an effort of an individual. Nobody looks into it. Similarly, this peer pressure on ranking is again is taking the traditional system into a different tangent. Now, while all this is in place, you also commented on the higher education ranking system exists globally and the NIRF ranking, and you said there are similarities in some parameters and the systems there are difference in other parameters. Now, even there are criticism exists on global ranking for say the common criticism something like the limited number of samples which are considered, and they believe that there are biasness on it, and the focus on research that you have rightly pointed out, and there are cultural and regional biases, and there are subjectivity on the survey and data limitations. These are the global challenges, and there is also a common understanding on this. If some institute needs to climb up on the ranking, they need to have more of international people, international faculty, and they need to have multiple disciplines. So all these are exist because these are the parameters which are considered for ranking. Now, given our system where not every university can attract foreign faculties at this moment, not every university can offer diverse range of subjects ranging from medicine to engineering. So this again ranking becomes though there could be some the parameters which can help this unique institutions, as you discussed. Terry for say is a unique institution which has a limited focus, where you see as the challenge exists when more and more such unique organizations or institutions in the country which is likely to come up in near future, and how this ranking system is going to play a role when we have the foreign universities being set up in India, and secondly, when we have universities or institutions which are set up in collaboration with those foreign universities. There is complete foreign university, and second one is in collaboration with this foreign university. How this ranking game is going to change?
Excellent question. Actually, what is happening here is this pressure is very much true. We all are personally, as an academic, we are pressurized to publish, etc. If you look at the Nobel laureate Higgs, he got a Nobel Prize in 2013, I think, in physics. He never publishes actually. Every year the university asks him to say what are the publications you did for this year. He will say none. But he got the Nobel Prize in the end of his career. So what I'm essentially, but we can't have the luxury like Professor Higgs had, because you can't say you can't say I don't have a publication this year or even in the next 2 years. You can't say, because you will be losing your job in this capitalism. What I'm essentially saying here is quality and productivity cannot be interchangeably used. You can be very productive. Every year you may be publishing 5 papers, or I may be publishing 2 papers or something. But if it is not a high quality publications, this productivity is not actually not going to take us anywhere. But that is the misunderstanding which we need to understand. First, we shall not interchangeably use quality and productivity. That is the first point which we need to understand. Second, in India, most of the academics, unfortunately, in social science, I am very much confidently say that most of them, or majority of the publications, are all in third-rate journals. Actually, they are not actually the decent journals, which are plagiarized or which are having a spurious publication. So those phony achievements are another layer. If you look at the Indian academics' contribution in these doubtful journals, are all very striking. Actually, the mixed reality has to be seen in terms of the ranking, where the system is getting pressurized to be standardized. So if you won't get up in India, you won't get a facility like that of Oxford or Cambridge or Stanford, but your system will have the same pressure on the academics actually. So the pecuniary benefit, the systemic benefit. So, for example, in traditional universities, you can't even apply for a Fulbright fellowship, because if you are not very close to your vice chancellor, like that kind of politics do exist in India. But in the Europe, or in the Western Europe, specifically Northern Europe, for example, these things do not matter, because you stand on your merit and nobody will block you, etc. So here we are actually comparing two different realities, or apples and oranges, in a situation, and trying to standardize the system. That is another problem. And this politics we need to understand actually. If you remember, sometime back, the former Chief Election Commissioner Gopal Swamy led a committee on institution of eminence. This government, the NDA 2 appointed, and they formed they were actually identifying the institutions of eminence in India. Whether you believe it or not, this happened where none of the eminent institutions like IIT Madras and IIT Bombay, they were not even being shortlisted, where they gave a IOE tag to Geo Institute, which was not even existing. Even they don't have a faculty, they don't have a physical infrastructure, etc. I tried to get hold of the committee report, but they were not able to share. Nobody was actually helping me, even in the UGC. So there are politics are there, where the big players will call the shot. That is the reality. Fourth important point is the gaming. So ranking expects these things. So for example, if QS ranking expects perception as a 40% criteria, so how do you increase the perception? So you convert your university artificially to be a Oxford or Cambridge in Chennai or any other Bangalore or any other city, and act as if like you are a great campus, without actually doing a real reform actually. So you create an artificial reality to game the system to get into the QS ranking or Times ranking. So systems are also led by these politics. It's not only the politicians. So it's a kind of what we are witnessing is a kind of messy reality out there, because as you rightly mentioned, there is a pressure on academics. There is a pressure where the subjects are all changing. If you remember, when I was a student way back in 2000 as a master's student, we have traditional disciplines, social sciences, sociology, economics, history, philosophy. Where are these disciplines? Now everybody becomes a liberal arts scholar, everybody becomes a public policy professional, everybody becomes an economist, something like that. So the traditional disciplines are all being dismantled, where interdisciplinarity is becoming the reality. I consider this as a market-led pressure where the system is actually pressurizing the subjects. You convert the geography into geospatial science, and you make everyone to be focused only on application rather than the foundational knowledge. So we are not going to create another world-renowned geographer who understand the history of geography and philosophy of geography, but only an application-oriented technical guy. That kind of a reality is actually an unfortunate twist where this standardization is actually pushing us. That's the point I'm trying to say.
Stay tuned to All Things Policy. We'll be right back after a short commercial break.
Thanks for bringing the geography and geospatial connection to this discussion because, there's other side of this. There was a time during the 2000 era, um, the more and more focus was given to this classical, subjects where interdisciplinary students were not even considered for admissions for PhD and for job prospects. That was a time we were expecting the country should have more and more open opportunity to be given for interdisciplinary students. But then now we have now what we are discussing is too much of interdisciplinary into it, and then leaving out the foundational courses. Especially in science, it is true. It is pathetic. The lot of colleges in down south, the physics courses are taken out, chemistry courses are taken out, mathematics is taken out from the colleges where private funded colleges, and even in many other small institutions, these are taken out just because the students are not enrolling into it. All are measured in terms of the job prospect connected or associated with these courses. Now, this is the situation in front of us. Now, I wanted to ask you, given all the challenges, do you see is there some opportunities also available to Indian universities to get rid of these complexities and to move up in global ranking, or do you see is there a chance that Indian universities can climb up in this ranking, or it's never going to happen, or we should only rely on NIRF and to satisfy ourselves?
Again, back to the same question which you rightly asked in the first question, whether this ranking is relevant or not. That problem has to be solved. I don't know because reality says it is relevant, it is important, it is necessary, but philosophy says we should not standardize the system where JNU has to be JNU with the capital J, and Delhi University has to be in its own flavor. That's the philosophy. I do get inspiration from Professor Prabhat Patnaik. But what can be done is actually, I don't know this story. There is a philosopher story. There was a king, and he was a very renowned king. Everybody was always inspired by this king. The next neighbor king was very unhappy that why this guy is very renowned and why I'm not. So he went all the way to this kingdom and asked, "What is your secret for a reputation?" Then he asked, "Okay, I'll tell you the secret, but you have to do one favor for me." Of course, it's a short story. I'll just stop it. He said, "Just take a bowl of oil, keep it in your hand. You should take a round of the entire palace, but only requirement is you should not spill the oil. Not even a drop of oil should be spilled out. If you do this, I will definitely tell you my secret." Then this second king went all the way and took a round. And then after 6 hours of slow and steady walking, because it's a oil full of the bowl full of oil actually. So the king appointed a few soldiers to see whether it is really dropping or not. So he was very conscious that he should get the secret. After 6 hours of hard work, he went back to the king and shown, "See, I didn't do it. Okay, keep it. Okay, let me ask you the question now. I'll tell you the secret, but only one question. Did you, when you were taking around, did you see the beautiful peacock, which is actually roaming in the palace?" He said, "Where I have time to look at the peacock, because I was always concentrating on the oil, which was very overwhelming and it was heavy and this thing. Did you see the beautiful the building? Did you see the beautiful that, beautiful this?" This guy was asking one by one. Then the second king said, "I didn't do anything. I didn't see anything." Then he was actually irritated, and he said, "Why are you asking this question? My situation is like that as a reputed king, because my resources are all very limited. I cannot have the luxury to waste my time and energy on stupid things. So I concentrate on my entire governance structure only on to become a good king." So going back to your question, what needs to be done is Indian university leaders, including the vice chancellors, pro vice chancellors, and the management, should be a philosopher king. Philosopher in terms of ideology, to do what is good for the institution, what is correct for this country and the constitutional value, and king in terms of action. This two combination has to be there. You have to be very philosophical in your approach, and you have to be action oriented individual who can actually tweak the system. Unfortunately, our generation is actually very having very less number of people who can give you that inspiration. We had eminent academics. I can remember Professor Yashpal, even my own professors, Professor Tilak, Professor Govinda. I have a number of names, but they're all retired. But unfortunately, our generation, we don't have that kind of inspiring contribution, and it is very high time that we all need to work hard to get inspired from the previous generation, the retired professors, and take the lead from there. Yeah.
Before we wind up, actually, we are running out of time, but I just wanted to ask you. Well, these are all thought process need to be changed at the leadership level, at institution level. So imagine a situation where nothing has changed, and still, is there any scope for Indian institutions to grow up in the ranking? That is something where would be an interest of many to see what we should do, and especially when the institutions in rural areas, especially when the institution is funded by private private institutions, privately funded organizations, and some state universities also. What should they do, or what are the areas that they can focus given the current framework? Nothing, if let's assume that nothing has changed, and what are the chances still they should work on to improve on this ranking with the current framework in place?
Clearly, there is a pressure on research. So we need the institutions, any university which wants to be climbing the ladder of global as well as national ranking, should have a research faculty in every discipline who are application oriented, with a clear grounding on the philosophy of each and every discipline, even if those disciplines are not existing. Say, for example, I might have got trained in sociology, but I need to know the philosophy of sociology, or the philosophy as a background. So I need to have the ability to navigate across different disciplines. You remember Professor Amartya Sen, who got Nobel Prize. He's a famous world-renowned economist, but he's holding a philosophy chair in Harvard. He's a world-renowned philosopher, but he is an economist by training. So we need people who are having strong characters, with a moral fiber, an ethical standing. That kind of the faculty, for example, faculty should be, but specifically speaking, faculty should be enhanced in terms of freedom. There should not be any pressure from the system, management, etc. And ideally, university should be standing on the only one principle called autonomy, where they can do research whatever they want, even if those ideas are all radical or not acceptable to the government of the day, or the politicians of the day, etc. University, if you look at the etymological meaning of university, it is standing on the very principle called the autonomy. But what we are actually witnessing is a situation where government is giving autonomy to few institutions which are doing very well. This kind of a graded autonomy is anti-democratic. Actually, you cannot give autonomy to anyone. Actually, freedom, autonomy cannot be given. It has to be taken. It has to be exercised on your own. So these kind of a philosophical thinking has to be imbibed at the leadership level, which is very essential at any university, whether it is private, public, or a non-governmental NGO type, any type. It is a virtuous cycle, actually. A good leader will attract good faculties. Good faculties will attract good students. So this virtuous cycle has to be seen through. This abstract concept has to be seen through. But unfortunately, what we are witnessing is the opposite in India, where because of financial issue, we are not able to attract good faculty. Because of inability to attract good faculty, our leadership is actually tattering. Even if leadership is not in good shape, our enrollment is actually going down. So most of the state universities in this country are actually, if you know the situation in Tamil Nadu, how the vice chancellors are being appointed by the politicians for various reasons. So we are actually doing the opposite actually. So we need to create an entire ecology in a manner where universities of any color, universities of any variety can survive, and that is essential rather than ranking will definitely, if you are creating good institutions. I don't know what is a good institution in a normative standard, but if you are looking at an ideal type, what Weberian ideal type of an institution, which is very good, it will automatically, say for example, MIT in the US. MIT will not go for ranking. The ranking will go to MIT and appreciate them because they are very good in their own standard, because they appoint only the Nobel laureates, they appoint only the people of eminence. So the problem is the both supply and demand is actually interlinked. So we need to have a philosopher king as a minister, philosopher king as a vice chancellor, philosopher king as a management. Everybody has to be good actually. It cannot be only based on faculty. It cannot be only based on enrollment. It is much more than that. Because what we are witnessing is a box ticking approach. Everybody is, let us do these things will be done. This kind of an artificial mimicry of the West and trying to ape like that of MIT or ape like that of Harvard will not work here. We need to have an Indian color. We need to have a nationalistic spirit. We need to indigenize our culture and values and try to be good in our own situation. Say, for example, if Delhi University or IIT Delhi, for example, if IIT Delhi is not solving the water problem in South Delhi, what is it use actually? It cannot just keep on being proud to send IT coolies to Silicon Valley and say that we are the world-renowned institution in South Delhi. It won't work. You have to solve your immediate situations and needs. What is your contribution to South Delhi, or what is your contribution to Delhi? In every institution, if they are actually working for their immediate surroundings and taking care of their region as well as national context, long run what happened, we will be creating a unique model where our contribution to the global ranking will be phenomenal. But what we are doing is the opposite. Okay, China is having 5,000 university. Let us convert all the colleges at the university. So there is a pressure to convert St. Stephen's into a university. So we are breaking the entire affiliation system, which has its own historicity, and converting everything into university. That will not solve. You can create more and more IIMs and AIMS and IITs everywhere, but they are not the same. IIT Kanpur and IIT Mandi is not the same. IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Rupar is not the same. Rupar is good, but IIM Lucknow, for example, because you have this APC kind of a caste-like system. Brahmins are Brahmins. So you need to demolish this in terms of the democratic values and create genuine institutions with the philosopher king kind of an attitude. That's my take.
Thank you so much for such an elaborative answer. And I believe the audience really wanted to, listen more to you. And unfortunately, today for the session, we are running out of time. And we look forward to interact more with you, Dr. Laksh. In fact, we have been in academics and we worked together in the past. But, this is the opportunity I got along with you to discuss on the complexities in higher education. From your background and your wisdom on the subject, I could learn more, and I'm sure the audience are going to learn more on this topic. It is a pleasure to have you on our podcast today, and we look forward to interact with you in other sessions soon. Thank you, Dr. Laksh.
Thank you, Nitya. I really appreciate. I know Takshashila and its a valuable contribution in public policy. So I really look forward, and I do not want to miss any opportunity whenever you call. So it's my pleasure and privilege to be a valuable contribution to this podcast. Thank you. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
If you liked our show, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can tune into them on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also follow IVM on social media. The handle is @IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And hey, If you'd like to dive into Takshashila's research on technology, strategy, and economic affairs, check us out at our Twitter handle at Takshashila INST or our website takshashila.org.in.